You Know Me Now listeners, it's great to have you here today. And joining me, we have Rahel Phillips, who is an artist originated in Brisbane but now living in Melbourne. She has done BB's backing vocals for Ruel and for Jess Mauboy, and is also one of the lead vocalists for Billy Davis. So Rahel, thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. And before we get into the actual interview, we'll start with just a few hot seat questions. And so the first one is, which 3 albums would you take on a deserted island?
It would have to be Igor, Tyler, the Creator's latest album. There's this album that no one knows about called The Flower of Life by this group called Cricket 80s. It's actually super low key. I don't even think it's on Spotify, it's just on YouTube. I don't know why. Love that. And probably Channel Orange by Frank Ocean. Those would be my 3. If I had to pick 3, it's really hard to pick.
Going on to your favorite sound. So what is the sound that when you hear, you just want to melt and you would be happy to listen to it for the rest of your life?
Like, I think like strings, just strings, like not one violin, but like a string quartet, just like playing chords or like playing like a riff, an ascending riff or something like that. Definitely like string vibes.
And then the complete opposite of that, if there was a sound that just grated at your nerves and you never want to hear that, what would that sound be?
Like, I don't know if it's like if this is a sound, but like anything that's just like out of key, like a sustained note in a song that's completely out of key, like I think that would just drive me like up the wall. Regardless of what sound that is, I think that would drive me insane. Just hearing like, but.
And then the last one in our hot seat round would be, what is one of your favorite dishes that your mum has made for you?
Favorite dishes.
And just brings back like different memories and things like that.
Well, my mum makes dal with rice and it's just so good. And I haven't met anyone else that makes it the way that she does. And I've tried to make it at home and I can't make it. Like, I literally can't make it, not even just as good as she can. Like, I haven't even got around to like the making part of it. Like, I just got the ingredients and didn't make it. But it's just so good. And it reminds me, like, sometimes when I'm away, I really just want some dal and rice. Like, you'll be like at a hotel with like, oh, you can order whatever you want, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I really just want some dal and rice.
Well, going into some more questions about your music career, could you share a little bit of maybe some of the experiences as a backing vocals for Jess Mauboy or for Ruel, and maybe some of the things you loved about it and that you learned?
Yeah, I think it's been such a huge honor to like, do backing vocals for people like Jess and Ruel. And I think the biggest thing is I always think of it from 2 perspectives, as a backing vocalist, as that being my job. It's a huge privilege because, their music is so amazing, and the like Ruel particularly, like the crowds he pulls in is crazy. Like, we all dream of, performing to a crowd of 5,000, and it's like being a backing vocal for someone like that is just, it's such a rewarding experience from, checking into a hotel to after the show. The whole thing is just like amazing. But I think the way it's most impacted me has more been with Rahel in artist mode. Like, just being a backing vocalist, you kind of get this unique perspective of like literally being behind the lead vocalist and seeing them work the stage and seeing people respond to them and seeing them really do their thing and like show their art. And I think that's really inspired me. Just being on the back sometimes, like, man, I want to do that, So I think in so many ways I'm so grateful at how it's pushed me and how it's really just shown me like anything is possible. Just the experience on a whole is just amazing.
What have been one of your favorite moments, maybe in one of those times where you were singing?
Oh my goodness, there's definitely this moment that there's actually 2 moments. For one of the Jess shows that we did, there was just this moment at the end of the show where she was kind of just like improvising, just kind of in a very spiritual way, just singing whatever was flowing through her. And Billy was just like playing the key, just feeding off her and just I can't even explain it. It's one of those things where it was just like a magical musical moment of something took over in that moment, and Will was just expressing himself, she was just expressing herself, and it was kind of just unplanned but perfect. And it was just this moment of like, wow, music is so crazy that it can do that. And everyone was just kind of like silent, you know, and that beautiful, like, there's a lot going on, but it causes everyone to be still, you know what I mean? That was so beautiful. I remember that. And yeah, this moment at a Rule show, there's this one part of at the end of the song where it's like, ah, ah, ah. And it's like basically everything cuts out. And it's just like the BBs doing that. This massive like strip back moment from the song. And I remember like taking one of my ears out and seeing like everyone in the crowd was just like singing along to that. Like it felt like just thousands of voices. And I saw everyone with their lights up, just waving like that. And it, like, I'm pretty sure I stopped singing. I'm pretty sure I stopped singing like a few lines because I was just like, whoa.
Wow, it sounds absolutely amazing. Be able to experience like just looking out and seeing all those people and just united, I guess.
Yeah, and it's kind of just this thing of just like that you've dreamed of, and you're actually seeing it, and you're just like, huh? Like, how is this actually happening?
How did you actually get into this? Because we met back in first year at the Queensland Conservatorium studying jazz. So, like, how did you get from that place to where you are now?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, if anyone knows me, like religious or not, spiritual or not, I have one simple answer of like, I don't know how I did it, but God just took the wheel. But to explain it further, I think it was just a bunch of just right place, right time kind of things, and actually a lot of risks. Like Billy invited me to, you know, come to Melbourne, and just initially it was just going to be for 3 months, and it kind of ended up at the end of 3 months me being like, well, I really, really like it here, and I think this is like my, you know, my place and somewhere I can really grow. If you're in a particular circle, sometimes you just, you know, one person, and that means you know everyone, or everyone suddenly knows you. And I think that's kind of how I felt like being the new member of this already established band coming into Melbourne. Although I was meeting hundreds of new people, they were only all meeting just one new person. But yeah, it's kind of just like one person knows another person, and another person knows another person. Another person sees your video, another person's like, hey, I saw you do this BB thing, and it just all kind of happens. I had nothing to do with this. I don't know how this is happening. I feel like the exact things that I meant to do are kind of just like falling on my lap. I mean, I have a praying mother. I, you know, worship God. Like it's just, to me, it's just like, well, what do you think happens when, you know, when you put that at the center of your life, or when you try to honor something like that?
Well, you've just mentioned Billy Davis again, and you've been mentioning them a few times. Could you tell us who Billy Davis is, what the band's about, how you, I guess, some of the feelings and like the moments you've experienced being with them?
Yeah, definitely. Billy Davis is a person, but I guess when the whole band is involved, we kind of all get grouped into just like Billy Davis, because it's easier to say Billy Davis than Billy Davis and the Good Lords, which technically everyone that's not Billy Davis who's in the band is technically a Good Lord. Basically, Billy is just he's the forefront of that whole thing, and it's basically everyone that's on board with it. If you go to a live show like me, people like Kai, Josh, who drums, Jordan, who's rapping, it's us just helping his vision come to life, essentially. And it's really cool because basically everyone in the band is also their own artist as well. It's just this massive group of like creative people equal to whatever Billy's vision is. We also have our own thing that we have a vision for. So it's really awesome.
Rahel, would you mind just walking us through like one of your warm-up routines before a show?
Okay, so pre-show rituals.
So I always get together with my BV gang. It's really bad. Sometimes we don't warm up, but usually we do. If we don't warm up, it's just because we're just naturally G'd up to just go on, and we're like, nah, we don't need it. We could just, it'll be cool. Okay, but warm ups, lip bubbles are great. So just on a 5 up, 4 down, starting on a low note that's comfortable, just boom, boom, and all the way to the top of your register and back down. I love doing some VVVs. So just going around in circles, so just, again, aiming for just warming up your bottom register and your top register in the middle, everywhere in between. Little voice break there. Just pulsing on that. Singing a part of something that I'm going to be singing on the show. Just something a cappella with the other BVs. Kind of gotta like shake your body out sometimes and just be like, okay, get in the headspace. It is about preparing vocally, but I think sometimes it's just like you gotta trust that that's just gonna come because you've rehearsed and you've done your part and stuff like that. And before going on a show, don't forget your pack. That's one thing that I've learned of, like, when you're using in-ears, like, best believe you need your pack to hear when you go up there. But yeah, honestly, just lip bubbles, different like those kind of exercises and different vowel exercises. You can basically do anything you want, just whatever feels good to your voice. But yeah.
Well, going back to the pack story, it sounds like you've had maybe some experience like forgetting that, or is there a story behind that?
Look, it hasn't actually happened, but it's been close to happening. It's been this moment of like, yeah, I think I'm ready. I can feel my ears in. Like, it's cool, it's cool, it's cool. And like, just side of stage, usually I'm just used to like hearing something, like, hearing an MD or just hearing just something like some stuff from the crowd mics. And me going, it is awfully silent right now because my ears just jutted into my ears. And then me like following to the bottom of the cable and being like, oh my goodness, it's not connected to anything. People going around and be like, I don't have my pack. And of course that person's like, I've been looking for you. Like, yeah, no, I haven't actually walked on stage without my pack, but I think it's been close to happening. But it's one of those things, it happens once and then you never forget, I hope.
Have you ever had a moment then when you're on stage and something has just happened and you kind of just had to jump on and the show just goes on?
Yeah, so I literally fell over. I fell over, and by jump back on, I literally had to jump back on. It was so embarrassing because I thought my leg was bleeding as well, but then when I lifted up my pants, they weren't even bleeding, so I felt like I was just overreacting the whole time. Ruel was opening for Shawn Mendes, so they're like the biggest crowd we've ever performed in front of. For like Ruel's set, they have a particular stage design, so I'm used to knowing where the bumps in the stage is, where the stairs are, etc., etc. So for Shawn's show, it was all set up to Shawn's, the way he does it. And so I wasn't aware of like this stair that was just there, and it wasn't lined with like fluorescent tape the way it usually is. So I'm just like walking over to my usual spot, and I'm like pretty excited. So I think I kind of have like a bit of a skip in my step, and like running, and then I just like fall down in front of like 5,000 people. Like, I'm acting like everyone was looking at me, but no one was looking at me. Like, except for JD and Kai, they like cracked up laughing. They were like low-key, like, oh my gosh, was that a joke? Was that serious? But yeah, I just tripped over, and I was just like, and I just like got up. And look, this is such a diva moment. Nothing even happened, but I just remember being like, this is our first Shawn Mendes show, and I'm starting it by tripping over. But then it ended up being, so who really cares? But yeah, that's happened before. Yeah.
You ready? 1, 2.
When I think of life without you, something doesn't feel right, baby. I don't wanna love without you. Life is better with you in it. When I think of life without you, something doesn't feel right.
So Rahel, you've talked about how you've been in backing vocals, you've also been leading vocals. But I'm sure that someone who's as talented as you, also has some things going on behind the scenes. Maybe some of your own work that's going to be coming up in the future. So would you like to tell us about maybe some of that and what you're kind of working on in amongst all the craziness of everything else?
Definitely. I am working on my own stuff. For me, I think when I say like I'm glad to be working on it more seriously, it's more just the fact of I'm glad to be in the mental space of like, yep, I'm actually ready to like really commit to this. You're forced to ask yourself a lot of questions of like, how will this pan out for me? Do I really want to deal with this? What is my sound? Like just all down to the nitty gritty. You know, at what points of, you know, finishing a song do I like to collaborate with people, and what parts of it do I like to be alone? But it's been such a big learning experience, and I'm just so glad to have these different experiences. I think of like all the songs that I'm working on right now, they all just have come about so differently. Some have started in my bedroom, some have started just while I'm literally just walking to the train, and I like quickly make a voice memo, and then that becomes like a chorus to something. Or, you know, my friend will send me a beat and I'm like, wow, this is cool. And then we make that a song. So there's so many different ways to do things these days. And I'm just grateful to be like a part of that wave and like a part of a community that I feel is really kind of rooting for me in the sense of like, I feel like a lot of people that I'm surrounded with have already released music. And sometimes that's made me feel a little bit like, oh, when's it going to be my turn? And like, you know, and I feel like that's coming up, and I'm just grateful to have that support of people. I can't say too much about, you know, when stuff is dropping or anything like that, but just know that it's in the works, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm just pumped. It feels like it's time, you know, to just do the stuff that's been on my heart and represent me, just myself.
For those who are like listening and want to hear your stuff, and want to like watch out for it, where can they find you?
I've done a few features on just for like my friends and stuff like that who are on Spotify. So I have a feature with this guy called Tentendo and Blasco and Jordan. We did a song called Waves. That's probably my personal favorite of, you know, what you'd find that I'm involved in the Spotify. You can find me on Instagram. My name is Rahel, yeah. I post like little snippets there, and yeah, I mean, I'm kind of low key at the moment, but it's on purpose.
As you were talking a bit with your hands, and I noticed that you have a ring on your left finger.
Hey!
Can you tell us like how that happened?
Yeah. Oh, well, the whole how it happened story would be another phone call, but yeah, no, I'm so happy. So my fiancé Josh proposed to me while we were on tour in London. Actually, we were in tour in Europe for Billy Davis stuff, and you know we were meant to be gone for a month, but then coronavirus happened, and then I think we made it like 2.5 weeks in, and then we had to go. So it was actually the day before we left that he proposed to me, and I was like super shocked. I was like surprised. Because I wasn't expecting it like to be at like when it was and where it was and stuff like that. But it was so beautiful, and we're super excited to just kind of, you know, enter like this next chapter of our lives. And we're both musicians, so it's kind of like this, like, wow, like we're really doing this. You know what I mean? We're really, you know, being this union together in this industry. I'm just looking forward to actually seeing him, because I haven't seen him since we got engaged because of Corona. So that's going to be great when I finally get to see my own fiance.
So then what's it like being musicians together?
We're both involved with music, and we're both, you know, musicians and working in the industry per se. We don't actually like cross over in each other's interests that much. Like we're both interested in music on a whole, but you know, my ear's always tuned into like vocal stuff and harmony stuff, and he's always like, you know, rhythm and literally like the snare sound. And so I really benefit a lot from just having someone in the same world as me, but just so different. Like he hears everything so different to me, and I'm sure he'd say it the same vice versa. So it's been awesome in the sense of just like musically, like getting to, you know, have another perspective and feel like in a way you kind of have this one unique perspective because, you know, you're with that person. But even just, I think from an emotional and mental standpoint, it's been really great. What would my partner, if it wasn't Josh, how would they feel with me being away all the time? Or how would I feel with my partner being away all the time and feeling like, I don't know why though. And that's the thing about, you know, musicians, like we put music before anything else, not in a way that it's above people, but in a sense doing that is attached to us. So it's a part of putting ourselves first, is taking those opportunities, which sometimes, you know, it's been beneficial to have that equal standpoint, because we both understand, like, we're going for our dreams, you know what I mean? And it's been a huge blessing, because a lot of those, both of his dreams and my dreams, have kind of crossed paths where, you know, times where I would have thought like, you know, I'm going to miss him for a month, like he's going to Europe, but then I've been on that tour as well. And we've both been touring together. So again, I don't really know how that's happened. I think that's a very unique situation. But yeah, it's been really awesome, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, thank you so much, Rahel, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you here, and for all the answers and things that you've shared with us, and your little vocal warm-up as well before the show. I'm sure we'll have a few people after this practicing some of those vocal warm-ups, trying to become a pro singer. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us. And yeah, I hope you continue to have the best opportunities going forward, and that, yeah, you really do get your name out there and people get to see you through your music.
Thank you so much. It's been so much fun, and thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
Boy, better believe me when I say